Hey, everybody, we are live. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for the first time homebuyer playbook for 2023. If you don't know us, we'll take a quick second to introduce ourselves. My name is Joe Wiggins. I own ARE Mortgage Group. It's a local mortgage brokerage. Absolutely love helping customers, specifically people buy their first homes. It's very exciting for me. That's why I do this for a living. I've been in the mortgage business for 30 years. Direct to consumer for the last 25 years. So I've been at it a little while. And in addition to me, you get the pleasure of seeing Heather Dorfmeyer from Modern Dwellings Real Estate. And Heather, I'll let you tell these fine folks a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Heather, and I enjoy working with people as well. I just love helping people, working as a team, communicating through difficult processes, and we're excited to show you our playbook that we've created for 2023. I mean, the market has shifted and changed quite a bit in the last couple of years, and I'm excited to say that it's geared a little bit more towards the buyer's side, which is why we created this playbook. So I hope you enjoy the different strategies that we are about to share with you, and reach out if you would like your own personal consultation.
Yes, definitely. Great stuff. Going to bring a lot of value today, guys. So here's what we're going to cover. Is now even a good time to buy? House hacking, a couple of different methods there. How you can create affordability now as a buyer in this market. How do you get started with a transaction overview from the real estate perspective and from the loan side? And then also what's coming in 2023, expert predictions. And so we'll start right off by jumping right into this, which is the elephant in the room. Is now even a good time to buy? And so Heather and I both agree that there really isn't a better way to address this than by just kind of comparing everything head to head. And so we'll just jump right in. In 2021, prices were higher, but rates were lower, right? They were considerably lower. Also in 2021, to get your offer accepted, most buyers, in fact, all buyers that we worked with, they had to typically waive their right to an appraisal and inspections. So going into it a little hot and a little risky, right? Just to get the property. And right now, sellers are motivated. They're lowering prices and or they're working with buyers with concessions such as closing costs or incentives, things to maybe temporarily buy your rate down or make your payment at least a little bit more affordable. That was not happening last year, but it's happening now. And so in addition, right now, you don't have to waive your right to an appraisal or inspection. So what we're finding, Heather and I are finding, is that buyers are actually able to negotiate a very good deal right now, and not be rushed into it and overpay potentially for a property. So no better way to show you this than with a real world example, comparing somebody who purchased a $500,000 home in 2021 to what that would look like today. And so actually, this is an example we have from San Bernardino County. It was somebody who was putting 20% down on their mortgage. You do not need to put 20% down to get into a home, but that's what these folks were doing. The list price was actually $480,000, and these fine folks had to go 20 grand over that to get their offer accepted, which is why you see 500 here. However, the appraisal did not come in at 500, and so they had to bridge that gap as well. First thing or second thing you'll notice is the rate is considerably lower then than it is now. The total payment, therefore, is lower. It's at $2,245.12 per month. However, overpaying for the house plus bridging appraisal gap, they were coming in with $104,529 and change. That same home right now in that same neighborhood is going for closer to $425 without seller concessions, so more aggressively priced. Rate is higher, therefore payment is higher by about $297.62 per month. However, the cash to close is about $19,000 lower. So payments lower in 2021, but cash to close and price are lower now. And so we'll show you a total cost analysis on what this looks like from a financial advisor perspective. So if we compare total costs for both structures, if you bought in 2021, your payments over the next 35 months would have come out to $36,081. Buying in 2022 with a lower price but a higher rate, your payment total comes out to $55,651. If we do the math on that and subtract 36 from 55, we're at $19,570 difference in cost. And if you remember from the previous slide, the difference in total cash to close was also about that same amount. So what does that mean, guys? It means that over the 35 months, it's buying now is the same as if you had bought in 2021 from a total cost perspective. So Heather, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the math that people kind of know they should do, but very few do it. Would you agree with that?
I would. And you know what? The math is there, but that's also not getting creative. That's also not asking for seller concessions yet, asking for repairs yet, which you actually have quite a bit of control over in 2023 as a buyer. So in addition to that 19,000 being equal, you're also able to do your inspections, your repair requests, and ask for concessions and closing costs. So it's quite a bit more of an advantage to buy now than it was in 2021.
I agree with you. And that's kind of like the mantra for us too right now is if you can afford to do it now, it's a great time to do it. It's a great time to do it still. And so speaking to afford, we'll address the other elephant in the room, which is affordability. And because if you watch the news, no matter what channel you turn it on, there's not a whole lot of positive press about home affordability right now, right? So we're going to show you some real world samples there. By the way, these samples are pulled from the analysis that we actually send to you once we have our consultation with you, and they will be geared specifically towards you. So just want to put that out there. And so here's a real world example on how we're creating affordability now in this market. So home price right now listed for just under $550, FHA loan in this example with a 680 credit score. This was priced actually just last week. 30-year fixed rate was 5.5%, yielding a total payment of $4,196.68 per month. Now, you might look at that and say, wow, that's a big mortgage payment, right? When I looked at it in 2021 or in 2020, the payment was about $500, $600 less than that per month. Well, so we have to address that, right? Because we want things to be affordable for us. We want them to be affordable for you. And so the smartest way that we're doing that right now is with what we call a 3-2-1 buy down, which is a temporary buy down. And in this particular case, we didn't ask the seller to pay for it because you see right now with prices dropping, it doesn't mean that the values are dropping. It just means that the prices are dropping. And so homes like this home right here for $550, it's actually worth $575. This is a real property worth about $575. With an appraisal will come in about $575. So you have some room to play with the price and also get concessions. Working with Heather and I, the advantage is that, like Heather mentioned on that first slide, it's not taking into consideration any concessions. So we wouldn't necessarily need to raise the price to get this for you. It is a case-by-case basis. In this particular case, we did need to do that. And so what you'll see is even with the higher price accounting for the concession from the seller, the buy down allows your first year payment to be based on a rate that's 3% lower than your note rate. So your note rate's still 5.5%. It's not an adjustable rate, but for the entire first year of that loan, your payment's going to be based on 2.5%, which is going to save you $864 a month for that entire first year. Now, at the end of the first year, beginning of the second year, that payment goes up and is based on 3.5%. So it's going to increase by 1% per year. And that's going to save you $566 a month over the second year of that loan per month. The third year payment is going to be based on 4.5%. So it goes up 1% more, which is going to save you $247 and change per month for the entire third year. And then what happens is the fourth and remaining 26 years of the loan, your note rate kicks in at 5.5%, which is that $4196.68. And the reason that we're recommending this right now is this strategy creates a ton of affordability in the first 2 years of the loan. Why is the first 24 months of a loan right now so critical? The reason is most experts agree that rates are going to continue to trend down and really drop back somewhere between 4.5, like 4 to 5% is what most people think over the next 12, 18, 24 months. And so the reality of you refinancing this particular loan in the next 2 years is pretty high. And what's nice about the temporary buy down is that any unused payment subsidy that the seller has paid for you is never wasted if you refinance. It comes back to you in the form of a principal reduction. And so right now, this is probably the number one strategy that we're using to create affordability for home buyers right now. And we'll get into the why a little bit here. I know, a lot of times people will tell you different things. You might have parents or grandparents or advisors telling you, hey, the reason you want to buy a home is that you need a tax write-off, or you need this, or you need that. And I think Heather would agree with me here that really wealth creation is the biggest reason why we think people should own real estate, right? And so we'll get into that a little bit. And I know, Heather, we were talking right before we started this webinar here today. What do you think, like right now in your market, where are you seeing rents at for somebody that would maybe be considering, hey, maybe I think I'm just going to rent a place instead of buy?
I mean, if you're looking at a single family home, you're looking at around $3,000 a month. I mean, different parts of the Inland Empire, $2,500 to $3,500 a month. You're paying someone else's mortgage, and you're not getting any return in that equity. They are. So
Right.
we have a really cool graph coming up showing just the equity over 15 years that you could be gaining, aside
Yep.
from spending on rent or letting your money sit in a bank. You're actually working smarter, not harder, at building your generational wealth, your own family's wealth. And I'll let the floor on that one. He does it really well. So
Cool. Yeah. And I appreciate that because, and the other thing I've noticed from the clients that I talk with is that rent's not going down. It's the opposite, right? Especially if you're in an area that is desirable or that a lot of people want to live there. And so to Heather's point, this will do an apples to apples comparison against renting, actually considerably less than $3,000 a month. I should probably correct the slide, but it's I'm using $2,355 a month for rent, and I'm comparing that against buying that same home listed at just under $550 with a mortgage payment of $41.96 per month. And we talked about kind of doing the math, deriving the total cost, and doing that extra math, which not a lot of people do. You can see here that even though the mortgage payment is higher, each and every month you make that payment, you're creating about $591 in equity because that's the amount that your loan balance is going to be decreased by every single month. And so your net payment for rent is about $1,250 lower per month than it is to buy. However, this is where it gets exciting. This is the comparison of the rent versus principal paid over the next 5 years. So if you just threw your hands up and said, you know what, I'm going to make more of an emotional decision right now. I want to stay put. I want to rent. And over the next 5 years, if you're renting for $2,355 and the landlord doesn't increase the rent on you, which is highly unlikely, you would pay that landlord $152,790.50. Over that same 5-year period, you would have reduced your principal balance if you owned a home and therefore built your equity by at least $40,708.49. So, guys, that's almost a $200,000 wealth shift right there. And when we look at that over even more time, it's really kind of either infuriating or inspiring. And so we're hoping to inspire, right? So your net worth, just using a 4% year over year appreciation, which is the statistical national average over the beginning of time till now, you would have built up $615,000 in equity between equity appreciation gain, and reduced principal. Whereas if you were renting for 15 years, there is no net worth, right? There is no appreciating asset. So to me, and Heather, I think too, this is part of the reason that we like to work with buyers, because we're able to show people this and how purchasing a home right now can create a ton of wealth and make, just really in most people's cases, a night and day difference in their portfolio, in their life, in their financial well-being and health. And so along those same lines, we wanted to address some house hacking tips, because a lot of people have heard of these, and we'll kind of dispel a few myths in the process. And, first thing, I think, Heather and I putting this together, we talked about what are some of the misconceptions people are unsure or don't realize that they can kind of do these things as house hacks. And the first thing is your down payment funds. A lot of people are unaware that they can come from gifts from parents or relatives. There are grants and down payment assistance programs that are also available. You could also borrow from your retirement accounts, depending on what kind they are, and also sell things. I was telling Heather, I recently had a customer who had some motorcycles that were collecting dust and was able to sell them and actually generate enough for his down payment and get himself into a home. So you do have a lot of options that at first glance, maybe you think you don't. And so that's one of the things that we try to help you uncover during our initial consultation. A couple of other ways you can kind of use house hacking to your advantage is in the form of lender credits. But the big one right now is in the form of seller concessions. Lender credits come typically with a higher interest rate. So right now, the smarter money is on doing that temporary buy down rated previously, or in having the seller pay closing costs for you and or reduce the price to try and create affordability that way. And what I consider, I think what Heather and I consider to be the biggest house hacks and the ones that you could potentially benefit from the most are a couple of different things, and we've illustrated them here. So first thing is a cosigner does not need to live with you. So if you're just getting started in your career, you just graduated, you got your first job, and you know that you're going to be making more money in the next year, 2, 3 years, and maybe your debt to income ratio is higher and you need a cosigner to qualify, that cosigner, that person that would cosign for you, does not need to live with you. So that's, I think, a big misconception when it comes to house hacking that a lot of people miss. Second one is, buy a home maybe that, if you're going to buy a single family residence, buy one that's a little bit larger than what you need if it's just going to be you. And the thought process there, and what a lot of people have done, again, recent graduates or people that are just getting started in a particular career, maybe unmarried or single, living by themselves or have a small family. If they only need a 2-bedroom, they're buying a 3 and they're renting out the extra room. Or if they're just getting started, they only need 1 room for themselves and they're renting out 2. So in that example, 1 room in this particular area, we had a client do this not too long ago. They were able to rent each room for $900 a month to people that they knew, and their mortgage payment was about $3,000 a month. And so that $1,800 offset their payment, dropped it down to a net $1,200. They were able to buy the house and actually reduce their housing expense under where they were at for rent while they were in college, which is pretty cool. You can claim rent on taxes, and actually use that to qualify for your next home as well. And then the biggest one, though, is buying units. And so, Heather, do you want to talk to them about how purchasing units could help them, like starting out as their?
There are a lot of different duplexes, triplexes out there, and then what has been popular as of lately is the ADUs that are added to different properties. So looking at a property not only as someplace that you might live for a year or two, but looking at the longevity of that investment and having the residual income come in on a second property a second home on the property or a third home on the property, and creating that additional monthly income for yourself to just expand your portfolio And just, it's a great way to get started because you can actually live there for your first year or two, and then use your equity to purchase your dream home next and continue to have that residual income. So that is one of the smartest ways that I think that a lot of buyers don't even glance at first.
Yep.
They're looking at a single family home or a small apartment unit, which is fine as well, but building those financial goals for yourself and getting all the tools that you need from the professionals behind the scenes can really set you up for the next 15 to 20 years.
Right. And I like tying in that, and that's a great point. Tying into that is a lot of people, I think, Heather, you'd agree, is that even their first home, we want to think this is the last home we're going to buy for a long while, right? When maybe a different way to look at it with house hacking is that, hey, I'm gonna buy units for my first home because I can buy units now for minimum down, 3.5% down, and knowing that I could live here for a year, convert it to a rental, and then down the road buy the house that I really, really want to live in. And so, like Heather said, it's just a fantastic tool, and it's something that we would bring up to you during your consultative period to bring to your attention and show you what that would actually look like potentially for you. So great points. And then getting back to what Heather mentioned, kind of the overall process when you work with us, we're going to kind of roll into that now, and I'll let Heather kind of go over some of the getting started bullet points here.
Yes, of course. So we would love to meet with you in person, via Zoom, over the phone, to really understand your financial goals and where you are at in being ready to be pre-approved, or 6 months down the road. We want to set those monthly goals for you. If you need to wait a little bit, and help you out with your credit situation, give our professional advice on your debt to income ratio as well, get that where it needs to be. Just talk about different strategies as far as possibly bringing on a co-signer, or just credit score assistance, like I said, and debt to income. So those are really important things that we can help you out with to get in the process. And starting a fresh year, it's a great time to do so. Once you are ready, or if you're currently ready, we would ask you to go ahead and get a pre-approval through Joe, and go ahead and sign a buyer agreement so we can start knocking on doors and opening some homes. At that point, we will be able to set you up with a professional MLS website that you can do your own searches on. You'll get daily listings in a faster manner than any other platform out there. We will be setting up a calendar with you based upon your schedule and flexibility to go see multiple homes, and discuss different areas as well. So newer communities might have a Melrose tax. They might have solar leases. They might have HOA attached to that. And that's where we communicate all around with our lenders, with our realtors, and with you, and see if that area is still affordable for you. With those extra additional costs. And then once we find your units, your single family home, wherever you decide that this is the one, we craft a creative offer for you. Strategic in this market right now, based upon everyone's individual circumstances. So say, you might be a little bit short on cash to close. Well, that's something that we can help you with. We can write that into an offer. We can ask sellers for those concessions right now. It's a great time to be a buyer right now. Say that, you don't want to do any repairs. You want it kind of turnkey when you move in. That's also something we write into the offer. We do our inspections. We have the flexibility now to really have, the ball is in our court as buyers right now, which is why we wanted to put out this playbook and just make everyone aware that, come on, it is your time. The last 2 years might have not been your time. You might have been bought out by, other offers when there was 15, 16, 17 offers on the table. But really, the flexibility is here. So negotiating best price and terms is what we're here to do for you. That's how we get
Definitely.
started
And
on the side. But on the
yeah,
loan
yep.
side, Joe has some other things that he wants to get through,
Yeah, for
right?
sure. And I appreciate you going through this because I think oftentimes consumers in general don't actually understand all the different steps that are involved. And, a lot of times I think people think it's just something I can just jump into and do very quickly. And it's just such a better experience if you kind of take it step by step. It doesn't take forever, right? But
Right.
being like ready and prepared makes all the difference in the world. And guys, one thing that I love about working with Heather is her clients love her. And not to sound too salesy or anything, but and I don't think Heather's ever had to pay anybody this, but I wanted to show them this, Heather, your communication guarantee, which I absolutely love because I'm a big communicator too. If you work with us, you'll see that we do a lot of video education, and we try to make things very easy to consume and understand, right? And so Heather actually puts her money where her mouth is. And if at any point, working with her, you're not communicated with in a 24-hour period of time, she actually gives you a credit towards your closing costs at closing. So I thought that was really cool, Heather. And I don't think you've had to pay anybody, right?
Oh no, I haven't. But I just say communication is the foundation of my business. So I want to
Yep.
put the trust in all the, but the trust is
Yeah.
out there. And if I do fail to do so, I will put my money where my mouth is. So
Yeah, definitely. And I love it. So with
thank
that,
you.
I just wanted to share that. I appreciate you sharing that with me too. And so the loan process, it's really not as hard as you think, guys, if you're prepared. And that's the big thing. I think a lot of times, just like Heather's order of operations, people will try to do things in the reverse order. They'll try to find the property and then do all of this at the last minute. And it's too much to compress into a short period of time. And I'll kind of go through why doing it the other way and what we're going to show you, what we recommend, is just so much smarter, whether you work with us or not, right? So first step that we would do is part of that consultation. We would do a budget review. Every customer of ours gets what we call a TCA, or a total cost analysis, which is a comparative side-by-side analysis of specific options that would meet your goals. We actually record a video over that's custom for you, so that if there's other decision makers involved in the process other than just you, everybody's on the same page. And it does a really good job of showing what's expected of you and what your options actually look like in black and white, hard numbers that you can use as a reference tool. So that's our first step. Once we actually get your application, we take a second step further to get your documentation and actually fully pre-underwrite your file. Now, why would we do that? Well, first of all, it increases your chance of offer acceptance tremendously, because somebody who just has a pre-qualification letter, typically those letters are not even worth the paper that they're printed on. Whereas somebody who's fully approved, we actually develop what we call a winning offer package that has an over 85% success rate of first-time offer acceptance. And the reason the acceptance rate is so high is that it does a really good job of showing a listing agent and also a seller how ready and how actually prepared you really are. And so that's all stuff that we do. You don't have to mess with that, because once you know the loan structure that suits your needs the best, it's kind of meaningless if we can't get your offer accepted. And so that's our next step, is generating that winning offer package to help Heather to get your offer accepted, just so that we can go under contract and then open escrow. That's when you would write your EMD, or earnest money deposit check, or wire, and you would send that into escrow. Shortly after that, our initial loan disclosures will go out to you, similar to DocuSign. Most are a little bit higher level security than DocuSign, but still something that you can do from your cell phone. From there, the appraisal is actually ordered. The cost of the appraisal is between $550 and $750. That's our only upfront fee. Once that appraisal comes in and the loan's approved, typically there are conditions from an underwriter. We satisfy those items. Sometimes those conditions are going to come from you as the consumer. Many times they come from escrow or title or the agents involved. And so our team runs all of that down. During this whole process, communication, like Heather said, is key. And there is at no point in time where you're going to be left wondering, hey, where am I at? So from there, your final loan documents are issued. Those are the documents that you would actually sign in person with a live notary. In California, we do not have online notaries yet. So all of that would be done in person at a time, place that is convenient for you. From there, this is where you would require your remaining funds. So let's say your total cash to close was $20,000, your earnest money deposit was $5,000. That remaining $15,000 would be wired into escrow after you sign your final loan documents or the same day that you sign. Next business day, typically the loan funds. And then depending on which county we're in, the deed records same day or next business day. And that's when you become the legal owner of the house. So there are a lot of steps. It's science, but it's not rocket science. And that's why having the right team means everything. And so, like Heather mentioned, communication is key. And so we would love to learn more about your specific goals and targets. If you are willing to communicate those to us, all you have to do is text consultation to 909-641-0527. And that will get the ball rolling so that Heather and I can reach out, schedule your free, no obligation consultation. And really, I think Heather really determine if now is a good time for them, right? So anything you want to add here at the end, Heather?
No, just getting you to your financials in 2023. I think a lot of people have refocused to that with inflation and everything going on in this world. So we're here for you. We want to help you out, whether it's right now or 6 months down the road. We want to get you there. So reach out and we'd be happy to talk to you.
Awesome. And guys, we appreciate you checking this out today. We know we committed to 30 minutes. We're at 32:50 somewhere in there. So thank you so much for watching. If you found value in this and want to send it to a friend, let us know. We're happy to do that as well. So Heather, thanks again. And guys, thanks for watching. Have a great one.
Thank you.